think most of us are finding our seats, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this evening's festivities. My name is Mary Lackey, and I'm the Director of Alumni here at Arkansas Tech University. Welcome back to campus. For all of you alumni and friends of Arkansas Tech, we're so excited to have you here on this wonderful night when we'll be honoring two of our distinguished alumni. At this time, I would like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies. He received his degree in History and Political Science from Arkansas Tech University in 1955. He's a former teacher and served as Vice President for Student Services and retired as Executive Assistant to the President. He was inducted into the Hall of Distinction in the year 2000. He currently serves on the Board of Directors of the Arkansas Tech University Foundation and is a lifetime member of the Tech Alumni Association. Please join me in welcoming Travis Adams.
Thank you, Mary. So that we'll get this over first, I've already gotten a number of admonitions about keeping things moving and keeping them short. So we will try to do that. Our invocation will be given by Mr. Rodney Parks, who graduated from Arkansas Tech in 1991 with a degree in economics. He is president of the Arkansas Tech University Alumni Association Board of Directors. He will be assisting us with the awards tonight, and he will now offer the invocation as we begin our evening together. Rodney?
Let us bow our heads. Oh, gracious and heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this most wonderful day that was neither promised nor guaranteed to us, Lord. We want to thank you for the recipients for their lifelong dedication not only to Arkansas Tech University, but their communities. And we also honor their respective families. We pray that this is an evening to which they can enjoy for a lifetime. We also ask for blessings for this food and the preparers of this food. And we pray that this is the evening again that we can continue to celebrate all those wonderful endeavors that these great individuals have given to their university. And this we say in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Please enjoy your meal. I have said before that this is one of the favorite spots that I ever get to do at Arkansas Tech, is to stand here and see a group of Arkansas Tech people dressed in their best and at their happiest at one of our grand events each year. It is my privilege this time to introduce the past honorees who are present with us. These are people who have been recognized for the Arkansas Tech Hall of Distinction. From 1968, Dr. Garland Godfrey and Ms. Godfrey. Please stand, and if you would hold your applause until the end. There's Dr. Godfrey. From 1973, John Nutt and Joey. From 1974, Ronald Bailey and Betty Jo. From 1976, Dr. Stanley Teeter and Maisel. From 1979, Ross Adams. From 1987, Hartzell Bartlett and Polly. Here. From 1988, C. Lemoyne Smith and Selma. From 1990, Mr. William Harmon and Suzanne. Also from 1990, Tommy Hillman and Shelby. Here. From 1990, Mr. Van Moores. From 1992, Mr. Troy Burris and Marjorie. From 1994, we have the widow of Dr. Jim Ed McGee, the mayor of Dardanelle, Carolyn McGee. From 1995, Don Dempsey and Joyce. From 1997, Jack Jones and Ida Ruth. Also from 1997, Dr. Thomas W. Sullivan and Maggie. Oh, did Maggie not? There she is, good. From 2000, one Travis Adams and my wife Lou. From 2001, Jim Harwood and Linda. And we normally do not, we only mention people who are here, but there's some people who would be here except for illness, and I think you would be interested in knowing a little more about them. Mr. Robert Hayes Williams is home going through rehab. I don't know that he's missed one of these before now, but he is doing better. And also Gene Harwood is going through rehab in Hot Springs. And I haven't gotten an up-to-date report from Jim yet, but I will as soon as this meeting is over. Thanks, Jim. Also, we have some recipients of our Distinguished Service Award. Mr. James Jerry Burns and Nancy. Mr. Gerald Edgar and Irene. And the Honorable Lloyd R. George. There's Lloyd. Also, a person who would be here except for a brand new baby was one of our outstanding young alumnus award winners, Jim Smith. Please join me in a big round of applause for our past honorees. Neither of the inductees that were selected for this occasion were selected because of anything in relation to me. But they have been selected in regard to the standing that they have with a lot of other people, which is shared by me. And I use a little personal privilege to say something before we get to the other part of this occasion. I've known Lee Bartlett since his high school years when he was famous nationally for his activities. And I knew him well beginning with his coaching career at Warren, Arkansas, where he was the junior high coach. As junior high coach, he encountered a slight behavior problem from some of the senior high players in study hall. Taking 2 or 3 of the ringleaders, including the class president, to the principal's office, each got several loud licks with a paddle, with the sound echoing down the open door and down the hall. He had no further problems. So when I learned that he had 2 boys, I knew that they would be respectful and responsible. He was also a successful girls' high school basketball coach at Warren, so when Nancy came along, I knew that he would be able to guide her as well. Now for Johnny Morgan, my acquaintance started as a student and faculty member relationship, and it has grown to much more than that. He was mature beyond his years when at Tech, and his support for the responsible leadership at Tech was remarkable. As he noted when I was inducted into the Hall of Distinction, our families have shared many important and happy occasions. He is somewhere between another son and another brother in my regard for him. So this is a great night for all of us, but especially for our friends Lily and Johnny. To introduce Lily, we have another well-known individual, Mr. Jerry Burns. Jerry is a longtime friend of Arkansas Tech. He serves on the foundation board. He is a former fund drive chairman, and he is a past recipient, as noted, of the Distinguished Service Award. So, Jerry, if you'll come down. Oh, I've got one other thing. I'm sorry. While you're coming, we have in our honorees some 63 years or more of being a referee. They know a whistle when they hear it. So if anything gets too long, I've got the referee's whistle.
Thank you, Travis, for those kind remarks. Just at this point, I just wished I could think of something nice to say about you. I want to give you the parameters first of our recipient, Harold Lely Bartlett. In 1946, Lely was involved with Arkansas Tech as a student and football player. A half a century and 7 years later, he is still active in Arkansas Tech business. My first acquaintance with Lely was in 1946. My cousin introduced us at a dance following a football game. Now then, after the football games, had a big dance. The whole student body was there. Girls, boy, it was great. For a junior coming out of Ozark, that was a big deal. So, I met Lely that night. Now, you don't forget a name like Lely, especially with his personality. My cousin was standing there, and he pointed across the floor, and there were some girls and boys standing there. And he said, "I want to introduce you to Lely Bartlett." And I said, "Which one is she?" Fast forward to 1955. I moved to Russellville. The first week here, I ran into Lely. I mentioned my cousin, and he said he remembered me. Was glad he had me in Russellville in a way that Lely can make you feel very welcome. In a way that I didn't hardly know what to say about this, but he told me that we'd get together sometime. And he held his word to that. We've been getting together for 48 years. First thing I did when I got home, I was all excited because I didn't know anyone in Russellville. I'd met a guy that I had known. I told Nancy, I said, "Nancy, I met Lely Bartlett." And she said, "Who's she?" It didn't take me long to realize, though, that Lely was a person who could make things happen. I won't list his accomplishments. They're in the program. But what I would like to do is, you know the what he's done. I'd like to tell you the why and the how. The why is Lely has a true compassion for people. Whether he's coaching a little league or teaching in a classroom, he had a genuine gift of letting them know he cared, because he did. The how is explained with a saying we had in the JCs. The speed of the leader is the speed of the game. The year that Lely was local president, Russellville, Arkansas was recognized as the outstanding club in the United States, population 25,000 or less, and Lely was recognized as the outstanding local president. So we had the speed of the leader, we had the speed of the game. You could tell by his enthusiasm when you went to work with him that things were going to get done. When he took a leader's role, his followers soon picked up on his enthusiasm and his dedication. Since notice of this honor has been made public, I have some letters that reflect what people think about Lely, people who have been associated with him. I have some excerpts I'd like to lift. I can't read all the letters, time won't allow, I don't want to get the whistle. But I would like to read just a sentence or two out of each one of these letters. This is one from a person that Lely supervised. It says, "He is one of the most jovial and friendly persons I've been around in my whole life. He knew his job and how to get the best results from his instructors, and he instilled a desire for the students to do their best in obtaining knowledge in their respective departments." A person that worked for Lely. I had known Lely as a teacher for several years before he became my boss. He conducted himself as a gentleman and was congenial and energetic while carrying out his duties in a professional manner. He was an outstanding example for his students and was admired and respected by his peers. It was an inspiration to be influenced by Harold Lely Bartlett as he enriched the lives of students, staff, associates, friends, and family. He is truly, truly deserving of this high honor. And then from a friend, Lely has been successful in business and education and community service organizations. His children and grandchildren are examples of his success as a father and a grandfather. And then last but not least, a former student. You know it's hard to comment on people like Lily Bartlett than most people because you end up sounding so mushy. I couldn't wait to get to this one. What can I say except out of all my school years, moving every 2 years, having gone through dozens of teachers, Lily Bartlett stands out in the memory more than any. And to this day, I could sit down and talk to him for hours. He was one of those special teachers that you could tell he loved to teach. What a smile. That is all he had to do to get anything out of us kids. All in all, he is one great guy and looks just like he did in 1979, and this is no joke. Well, you get the pattern. There's a lot more. I wish I had time to read it. But it wouldn't be proper to introduce the to Lily without introducing just naming, not his names, he wants to do that. But an introduction would be incomplete without at least saying how much he loves his family and how much his family loves him. He has a loving, caring wife, 3 children, which are all successful in their own right and their spouses, his 7 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, a brother and a sister-in-law, and he's proud of all of them. Lily has successfully worn many hats: student, athlete, coach, football official, businessman, teacher, administrator, husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. But in introducing Lily Bartlett, I would be remiss if I didn't mention another badge that Lily wears proudly, which is a vital part of his life. And I guess because he wears this one so well, it says largely why the others have been also successful. And that is the love of his Lord and his church. Now, Lily doesn't quote any scripture. In fact, we've been meeting for 48 years, and I can't recall him ever doing that. But what he does do, he lives by what it says. Many people walk in and out of our lives, but only true friends will leave footprints on your heart. And Lily Bartlett has left a lot of footprints on a lot of hearts, mine included. So it is my honor to present to you Harold Lee Bartlett for his induction at Arkansas Tech University's Hall of Distinction.
Get all my people waiting on me up here. I'll stay all night. Jerry, what a great job you did introducing me. And now you know why I asked Jerry Burns to take care of this detail. Jerry and I have been good friends a long, long time, and I will always cherish his friendship. You know, I really love Arkansas Tech. And I'm so honored to be inducted into the Hall of Distinction tonight. At this time, I would like to introduce to you my family and friends who join with me in this celebration. Please remain standing and hold your applause until all have been introduced. First, my wife, Marion, who becomes closer and more lovable to me each year we are together. We've been there at 53 now. We're looking for another 53. My son David and his wife Nancy of Hot Springs both attended ATU. Her brother is an instructor at Arkansas Tech, Dr. Gene Cole. My granddaughter, Missy, and her husband, Howard Marshall of St. Louis, Missouri. Their 2 boys, Bart and Henry, are at home with babysitters, grandparent babysitters tonight. My granddaughter, Michelle Bartlett, Michelle is in law school at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville. My grandson, Chip Bartlett. Chip is a senior at Lakeside High School in Hot Springs. My son, Dr. Kent Bartlett, and his wife, Jean. My two granddaughters, Lindsay, who is a sophomore at Arkansas Tech, and Whitney, a freshman at Arkansas Tech. My daughter Nancy and her husband, Dr. Mark St. Pierre. My grandson, Mark St. Pierre Jr. And my granddaughter, Annie St. Pierre, all of Little Rock. My brother Hartzell and his wife Polly. Hartzell is also a member of the Hall of Distinction that you heard a few minutes ago. They are also strong members of the class of 38. And any of you that have been around Tech at all understand how strong of Tech supporters these people are. My sister and brother-in-law, the Reverends Betty Ann and Bob Robertson of Heber Springs. Dr. C.D. Whitey Robertson and his wife Marie. My friends Joyce and L.B. Merrick of Russell. The Reverend Ken Calvis Mackey, my pastor at Central Presbyterian Church here in Russell. Jim White and his wife Michelle. Bill White and his wife Melinda of St. Louis, Missouri. Of this group of people, 14 of them have attended Arkansas Tech. That's great. How happy I am to be inducted into the Hall of Distinction at the same time as Johnny Morgan. Yeah. I'm not a speaker, you can tell that. My wife told me to be sure and have those people to rise, and we'll recognize all of them at that time. Sure enough, I fouled it up. But Johnny Morgan grew up 2 doors from where we lived in South Boston. And you know, Johnny spent a lot of time at my house on Sunday afternoons bouncing a basketball and shooting goals. And you just don't know how many hours of good nap time I missed as a result. I think that you guys enjoy doing that. My Arkansas Tech football scholarship furnished Marion and me a rent-free trailer and a monthly check of $30 to help on food costs. And our trailer was located close to where Massey Hall now stands. Marking the spot now are 2 large pine trees in front of Massey Hall. Our next door neighbors at the trailer were Ralph and Mary Kay Scott. Dr. Brown and Ralph Scott were good friends in Missouri. I thought it was in regard to education, but it was in regard to the Methodist Church, and Dr. Brown tells me that they were close friends involved in church business. And speaking of the Brown, we are so pleased with the class and energy they bring to our beautiful campus. Since they arrived, our school has grown and is one of the best, if not the best looking campus in the state. Quality new buildings and our updated landscaping and lighting have added so much to the campus. We appreciate that very much, and you guys. I count myself so lucky to have participated in football under the legendary Coach John Tucker and Coaches Raymond Rabbit Burnett and Coach Sam Heinzman. Coach Heinzman coached football when he first came to Tech along with his basketball. They gave me a great background for coaching football and basketball. How in the world could you go wrong with coaches like these as mentors? My boys played football at Arkansas Tech. The highlight of their careers was playing in the National NAIA Championship game in Birmingham, Alabama. And I imagine there's people in this room tonight that made our trip down to Birmingham to see that ball game. A special thanks to the Alumni Association for selecting me for this high honor, and to Mary Lackey and her able staff for all their work in making this evening go smoothly. I am grateful for the letters, calls, and kind words that have come my way, and for all of my friends here tonight whom I have not introduced by name. I appreciate you all being here very much. Arkansas Tech provided me with a good education and proper work skills to give me a full and happy life. Thank you, Tech. Thank you, family. And thank you, friends.
Every year at the conclusion of our Hall of Distinction program, you are likely to hear someone say, "What great inductees, why weren't they brought in before now?" And there is no intent to slight anyone. There are just so many outstanding Tech graduates that it takes a while to get around to everyone who deserves to be recognized. That could certainly be said of our honorees tonight. A friend can be variously defined as a person whom one knows, likes, and trusts, or also as one who gives assistance to or supports a person or group or cause. But for his many friends and the many groups and institutions that he is identified with, a living, breathing, fast-moving definition of a friend is Johnny Morgan. Brought up an only child in a loving family in which faithful worship and work in their church were the first priority, Johnny is a consummate family and churchman. The words Johnny and Julie Morgan are spoken together so often that it is most unusual to consider them other than as a unit. Excuse me. And to see their daughter Mandy slip in and take a seat beside them at some public event is to witness love and respect at their best. As a student at Arkansas Tech, Johnny was a serious student, but he was also serious about contributing to student life and developing his leadership skills through organizations like Blue Key, Scabbard and Blade, and Student Senate. He developed close friendships and exhibited those characteristics of loyalty, trustworthiness, and dedication to getting the job done that have marked his life after college. Johnny has always been interested in sports, playing, watching, and supporting athletics. He made friends for himself and Arkansas Tech as he traveled over Arkansas officiating football and basketball for over 20 years. When Johnny talks seriously about himself, he will tell you that he is proud to have had the opportunity to serve some 7.5 years on the Arkansas Tech Board of Trustees, and to have been in that position when Dr. Robert C. Brown was selected as president of our beloved institution. It was interesting to me, but never awkward, to have a former student in the position of making decisions which I and the administration had the responsibility to carry out. Johnny is also proud of the work he was able to do as owner of Shin Funeral Home. He was in a position of great trust and sensitivity and helped many individuals and families in their time of greatest need for understanding and for support. He was truly a friend of his customers. Johnny has been active in so many important civic and volunteer organizations that there's not time here to list them. Suffice it to say that in all these endeavors, he was not only a leader, but a dependable worker at whatever level of work was needed or required to achieve the goal. Serving the interests of the public with high ethical standards has been a hallmark of Johnny's work wherever he has been. I have no doubt that he will add to these successes by his work as Executive Vice President of First State Bank. You would have an inadequate picture of Johnny Morgan if I left the impression that he is all work and no play. He is an avid golfer and is the driver and spiritual leader of a group of friends who travel once or twice a year to witness sporting events or fish, which activities are carefully arranged around special eating opportunities at venues that are carefully selected. The members of that travel group could share in these sentiments written by Meriwether Lewis to William Clark in offering him a position to co-lead the exploration that had become famous as the Lewis and Clark exploration. Thus, my friends, you have a summary view of the plan, the means, and the objects of this expedition. If therefore there is anything under those circumstances in this enterprise which would induce you to participate with me in its fatigues and its honors, believe me, there is no man on earth with whom I should feel equal pleasure in sharing them as with yourself. Let me offer one word of caution. If you get the privilege of fishing in Alaska with Johnny and a guide, no matter the temperature, the wetness, the approach of darkness, or hungry companions, don't expect Johnny to agree to call in a day even 1 minute before the guide finally says, "We have to go in or I'm going to get fired." These things having been said, it gives me great personal pleasure and pride to present for induction into the Arkansas Tech University Hall of Distinction, Johnny Morgan.
Trav, thank you for that introduction. I told him when I asked him if he would introduce me that I realized I was putting a heavy load on him. I also told him as long as we had known each other, we weren't going to get too heavy with that, or I'd have a hard time getting through this, and that may happen anyway. First of all, my sincere thanks to the Alumni Association and everyone involved in the selection process for this great honor. Those of you that know me know I am seldom speechless about anything, but I cannot honestly remember what I said to Dr. Brown when he delivered the news of my selection. I think if I was to tell you that I was shocked, gratified, flabbergasted, honored, and humbled all at the same time, that would be correct. I'm still not quite sure why I was selected, but I am sure that it was not for any athletic or academic achievement while I was a student at Arkansas Tech, or since then, for that matter. There's so much that I could say, and so many of you to thank for any success I may have had, but time is limited, and I too don't want to hear the whistle. As a minister said at a graveside funeral many, many years ago on a hot Saturday afternoon in August, but there are just a few things that I feel like I must say. And 45 minutes later, he finished. So if you will listen fast, I'll try to talk fast and be brief. Many of you in this room know how important Arkansas Tech is and has been in my life. Having been born and raised in Russellville, most of the legendary names that are so readily identified with Arkansas Tech are people I had the pleasure to see, meet, or know growing up. Whether scholars, athletes, coaches, instructors, or community leaders, I looked up to and admired them all. No matter what I may have been able to do in service to Arkansas Tech, I will never be able to repay what Tech has given me. As a young boy, it gave me the opportunity to attend memorable college football and basketball games with my parents. Games that I remember to this day and have bored Dr. Brown with some of the details since he's been here. As a student, it gave me the opportunity to be involved in student organizations and student government, to make lifelong friends, and most importantly, to meet a music major from Mountain Home who would become my wife. As an alum, it has given me the chance to promote, support, and serve Tech in ways that have benefited me far more than I have benefited the university. Perhaps my most challenging opportunity related to Tech was the honor of serving on the ATU Board of Trustees. Getting to know and learning to respect fellow trustees, people like Troy Burris and Mary Ann Salmon, and be involved in a process that has only taken place 10 other times in Tech's history, the selection of a president, was a special and unexpected challenge, but one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And Dr. Brown, you have more than validated our decision in that process. Now, as we used to say in the officiating business, Lily, I'm sure your crew did it, our crew did it, every time we got ready to go out on the field or Gary Rowlandson call a ball game, we'd say, well, it's time to get our game face on. And so I'm going to try and put my game face on and get on through the rest of my remarks. I'm truly sorry that my parents are not able to enjoy this wonderful evening with us tonight. I can never forget the sacrifices that they made for me in order to have opportunities that they never had. Even more than financial sacrifices were the sacrifices of time and energy to try and teach me lifelong spiritual and moral values. Lessons like the importance of putting the Lord first in your life, like doing what was right no matter what anyone else said or did, like treating other people as I would want to be treated, and last but not least, that an honest day's work never hurt anyone. The business opportunity that brought us back to Russellville in 1977 not only gave me the chance to serve my fellow man, but to become actively involved in community affairs and more active in my support of Tech. I'm grateful for the opportunity afforded me by Avery and Fern Shin and Van and Marilyn Moores to come back home and be involved in a profession that I truly loved, funeral service. That great philosopher, listen to this now, Johnny Carson, once said, you'll be surprised he said anything this serious, never continue in a job you don't enjoy. If you're happy in what you're doing, you'll have inner peace. And if you have that, along with physical health, you will have had more success than you could possibly have imagined. I'm especially grateful to the families I was privileged to serve in the funeral profession for 25 years and to have been rewarded in ways that cannot be measured in dollars and cents. I treasure the friendship of the staff at Shin Funeral Service and the good friends I've made in the funeral industry. Now I'm certainly enjoying my new relationship with my longtime friend Charlie Blanchard and all of our associates at First State Bank. All of my business experience has revolved around people and relationships and service, and I have been richly blessed. Being able to give back to Tech and the community has just always seemed like the right thing to do and has been its own reward. Most of you in this room cannot know how special it is for me to share this night with the Bartlett family, and Lily stole a bit of my thunder. But Lily and Marion and David and Kent and eventually Nancy were our neighbors for many years on South Boston when I was growing up, and it is doubly rewarding to be able to enjoy this evening with lifelong friends from the old neighborhood. We hated it when the Bartletts moved to the other side of town. So I just can't tell you how special that is for me tonight. Many of you are longtime friends of our family, and your presence here tonight to share in this occasion means more than you can know. At this time, I would like to take a few moments and recognize family and friends who are seated at our tables. I will ask them to stand if they're where they can when I call their names, and again, I would ask you to hold your applause until I have recognized them all. Being an only child, I don't have a whole lot of family, but I've got a lot of friends. Many of you in this room tonight, some are seated with us, and I want to recognize them now. First, my wife of almost 31 years, Julie Nebben Morgan, and our daughter Mandy. Julie loves Tech as much or perhaps more than I do, and has always been supportive of my work and volunteer efforts. Whatever I have achieved would not have been possible without her love and support. Mandy is a proud Tech graduate and a current member of the Alumni Association Board and has been a wonderful blessing to her parents. Next, my favorite father and mother-in-law, Lauren and Doris Nebbin of Mountain Home. A better set of in-laws a guy could never have. My great friend, former partner, and truly my mentor, Van Moores. Unfortunately, Marilyn is ill tonight and not able to be with him. Our special friends with whom we have shared so many experiences, he stole my own words, more good than bad since our first acquaintance at Tech many years ago. And again, the man who accepted the task of introducing me here tonight, Travis Adams and his wife Lou. Our wonderful friends, really more like family, and our traveling companions, Mike and Joy Miller. My close friend and longtime officiating partner, Gary Rowlands, was here. He had to slip out. He's Nicodemus in the First Assembly of God Easter program, so old Nicodemus ate and left. I've probably traveled more miles with Gary Rowlands than I have with my wife. The wonderful couple we entrusted Shin Funeral Service to, our friends Orman and Patricia Peters. Our dear friends in funeral service, the president of Roller Funeral Homes of Arkansas, Bill Booker, and his wife Carolyn of Little Rock. A man I mentioned to you earlier, my good friend Charlie Blanchard and his wife Cynthia. My longtime luncheon buddy and friend Norman Watson and his wife Carol. Some of my special golfing buddies are here tonight, Walter Ramsey and his wife Diana, Bill Saxton and his wife June, Danny Taylor and his wife Jackie, H.C., I think I saw you come in back there, H.C. Martin, and Leon Anderson. My good friend and accountant John Shoptaw and his wife Carol, and my other traveling and fishing buddies, you heard a little of that fishing story, Gary Denton and his wife Evelyn, Mike Cooper and his wife Beverly, Don Guess and his wife Henrietta. And I must also mention some special friends that came in and surprised us, Harley and Joe Burke. You all please stand too. Joe, as many of you know, was Joe Niven. That's the old Henderson Robbins edition again, with the Bartletts and the Morgans and the Nivens all out there together in years past. And Harley married into that Niven family. And when I showed up at Fort Hood, Texas, as a brand spanking new second lieutenant and reported to the division chemical officer, there was Lieutenant Colonel Sib H. Burke. So we have known each other a long time and cherished that relationship. Please give them all a hand. In closing, I'd like to share 4 thoughts from President Harry Truman. They describe my philosophy of life better than I can. I like people, and I like to be among them. 3 things can ruin a man: power, money, and women. I never wanted power. I have all the money I need, and the only woman in my life is my wife. I would much rather be an honorable businessman and known as such than to be the richest man in the world. The greatest orators have been the men who understood what they wanted to say, said it in short sentences and said it quickly, and then got out of there before people fell asleep. So as I heard a former honoree say not long ago, I still don't feel as if I deserve this honor, but I'm not going to give it back. As long as the Lord allows me to live, I hope to continue working and building relationships and to continue to help Arkansas Tech in any way that I can. Thank you all for being here and sharing this very special night with the Morgan family. It is a night I will never forget. I feel very blessed and very grateful. Thank you.
Before Rodney performs another task for us, my old eyes slipped past a distinguished guest we have, Janice Falls, Hall of Distinction member, class of 38. Janice. Mary thinks I missed Clyde Horton. Did I miss Clyde and Mary Jo? Uh-oh, I'm going to get fired. At this time, Rodney Parks has some other things to accomplish for him.
Well, this definitely has been a most wonderful and joyous occasion, and added on to this most wonderful and joyous occasion have been several individuals that have been very kind in giving a donation in the honor of these fine individuals. So if you'll allow me, let me read these names out to you. For Johnny Morgan, we have a donation from Sumner Brashears, from Mr. and Mrs. Michael Cooper, from Mr. and Mrs. Bucky Kroom, Mr. and Mrs. Tom Jones, and Mr. and Mrs. Jim Venison. Thank you. For Mr. Lely Bartlett, we also have donations in your name and your honor. Mr. James Campbell, Mr. and Mrs. L.C. Hicks, and Mr. and Mrs. Tom Jones. Please give a round of applause to these individuals.
Now Mary Lackey has an announcement, and as she steps to the microphone, let's give her a round of applause for her great work in this.
Thank you so much. I just want to make one special announcement. Travis mentioned earlier that Gene Harwood is unable to be here tonight, but in his hometown of Hot Springs, they're going to be having a special day to honor Gene and Isla. And we have some certificates in the back of the room, back at the registration tables. And we're going to have those there to be presented to Gene and Isla. They're just, you can sign them, and it's just wishing them well from all their friends from Tech. So if you would like to sign those on your way out tonight, please do so. There's 4 of them, and the back 2 tables right there where we registered coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Well, it's been a great affair, and you've heard enough to know that these are 2 great inductees who have enjoyed the evening with us. So for final words, one other thing. The honorees and their families, please stay in the area for pictures immediately after the conclusion of our banquet. So again, Dr. Brown.
Well, my friend and colleague Travis Adams did his usual outstanding job this evening. Travis, would you join me again? As a token of our appreciation for doing such a good job, we want to present you with this gift. And those of you that know Travis know this ain't what it looks like. Thank you, Travis. I hope Rex Ann doesn't revoke my degree for saying that, what I just said. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a wonderful evening this evening. We live in a time of some degree of uncertainty. Our economy is not doing as well as it might. 50 of the 50 states are in fiscal crisis. We've got a war going on. There's some degree of upheaval in our world and our land. But isn't it nice to know that here in the River Valley, your home, Arkansas Tech University, continues unswervingly in its mission of offering the finest education that we possibly can to people of all ages. We continue in our mission of making certain that the things we do and the things we say and the actions we take are fitting of the lives and careers of those graduates such as you have seen introduced and honored here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, to those people and their families, one more time, let's express our congratulations. In just a moment, we're going to be dismissed, and let me remind you all that dessert is being served in the Doc Bryan Student Services Center, which is just across the street. And those of you who are familiar with the campus will, of course, know where it is, and you can depend on some of our staff and our ambassadors to help you in finding the way across the street if not. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your attendance. Lily, congratulations to you. Thank you for reflecting well on Arkansas Tech. Johnny, congratulations to you, and thank you for the same. Ladies and gentlemen, we're dismissed to dessert. Johnny walked away.